So when Jesus says he's going to prepare a place for us, he's talking about all that he did to make it possible that we could be with the Father. And you see, that's an issue, because all of us by nature are sinners. We are naturally sinners, and we sin to prove it over and over again. And God is holy and cannot be in the presence of sin. Sin cannot be in his presence is a more accurate way to put it. And so if we want to be with him, something has to be done about our sin problem. Isaiah 59:2 says, your sin has separated you from your God, and your iniquities have hidden his face from you so that he will not hear. Sin causes a barrier between us and God the Father. And you might say, well, you know what? I can be just fine without God. And I would say you are sadly and sorely mistaken. We're talking about the God who is our creator. He's your creator. We're talking about the God who breathed into human beings the breath of life. We're talking about the God who gives you every breath you take. And so you can see that it's a bad thing to be separated from him. And if that continues and goes on into eternity being separated from him, then what are you separated from? You're separated from life and everything that makes life life. People talk about going to hell and having a big party there. There's no party. There's nothing to celebrate. There's nothing that's good that's there, because everything that's good comes down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. There's no life there, because all life comes from him and is found in his presence. And so it's just a place of death and the absence of everything that makes life life. And that's the peril that we face if we are not reconciled to God, if we don't make our way back to him from a place of sin and rebellion. And that's what Jesus went to prepare for us. When he spoke these words to his disciples, in just a few hours, he was going to be taken away and tried falsely, accused falsely, and taken and hung on a cross. And as he hung on the cross, he prepared a way for us to the Father. Because he took our sin and our guilt, my sin, my guilt, your sin, your guilt, he took it upon himself. And while he hung there on the cross, at one point, if you remember, he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? Had the Father forsaken him? Well, kind of yes and no. No, ultimately he did not forsake him, because he raised him back to life. But in that moment, God was pouring out his wrath against my sin and your sin, his judgment and condemnation against your sin and my sin. He was pouring it out on Jesus in our place. And so Jesus in that moment felt all the separation from God that we deserve to feel because of our sin. But he took it for us. He suffered it for us, and in so doing that, he made it possible for us to be reconciled to God and be with him for all eternity. That's why the Father is the only destination that matters, because in him is all of life and all that is good and all that makes you want to be alive and to live.